Hello everyone. This is the second video in a series where I go through Colorado Caucus and talk what it is and the strategy. This is the strategy part, so follow the link to the description of the Caucus video to get the bigger overview, and then this is more specifically my thoughts on strategy going into it. You might think, why might you need a strategy? And so there's two parts to it, at least two parts to it. One of them is if you have a candidate that you want to see on the state Senate primary ballot, they have to do well at caucus. So you need to convince enough of the other people in your precinct to vote for them in the caucus so that they have a delegate. The delegate kind of represents them at the next tiers of the democratic process. So there's the county tier, and then there's the state tier, and those happen after county caucus. And so personally, when I think about strategy, is I want to be the person that's the delegate because I am able to go to those other dates, as well as I believe in strong progressive values and someone representing us that also does. And so I'm going to show up, meet the other people at my precinct. We're going to discuss about who our influence or who our primary person we're supporting is, and eventually choose 2 to 3 people to be our delegate. And so this is my kind of strategy with it. I am for the progressive choice, and I know that there's a number of progressive voices that are trying to be on the ballot. I kind of have my list of who I like more so than the others, but I'm just kind of for who the more progressive voice. And so I'm going to be clear with my county caucus that those are my values of Stephanie Rose and some of the other people, Tris Zornio, Andrew Romanoff. Like, they are my preference over Hickenlooper or some of the other names. And this is because in round 1 of the caucus, it's just kind of like a tasting of the waters. And so, depending on who shows up, if you want to be a delegate, you might need to be one of those people, even if they're not your first choice. Which, when I say it and talk about it, seems kind of weird. It's like, I'll go to represent my second choice, and though there's nothing legally holding you to that, the morality of me says if I get chosen to represent someone, I should represent them throughout the process to get them on the ballot. I think ultimately, though, I mean, it could have an effect, and so you should be honest about that and why you're there. Part of a strategy for a caucus, though, happens before caucus day. So who of your neighbors can you get out to show up to your site with you? Because let's say you do have a first pick of people that you want. If there's people there that also trust you and also share your values, then you guys can both be a voting block for your person. So part of the game is getting people to show up at the different levels. And I know some Senate candidates are working on that. They're putting together their caucus strategy. But just for if you want to be a delegate, you should have maybe your own strategy. And there are other perks to being a delegate. One is that you go up the process, and so you have a chance of being county delegate to the state level. And you show up there and you try to convince those people, and you have a discussion there about the candidates and who you're sending and where votes go. And that's important because at the state level, many things are decided. this is also why being a precinct organizer can be important, is because you get votes with your county party and have the potential to have votes with your state party. And this is where the democracy part of this all comes down. It's like, it's actually very democratic. It's just about who shows up to participate, and traditionally that this information isn't really shared well, or we don't educate people on how this really works. So why is it important to be a delegate at the state level? There will be state elections to send people from Colorado at large to be on the DNC. That's an important reason, and DNC gets to choose certain things about who's leading the party and certain rules and whatnot. And I want people that are more people-centered on those committees. Just in general, even if it's not 100% those people, more of them can be convincing and can get work done. And also, you pick who you send to the Democratic National Convention. And who's going to be a delegate there and be able to show up. And there's a point of like, it's going to cost a lot of money. And so that already cuts out certain people that might represent certain demographics, and that's shitty. You can always crowdfund. That could be a strategy to get those people there. And so you send people there to go show up that weekend. And that's important because that's how you pick who runs against Donald Trump or runs and is ahead of your ticket, is who you send. And though the people that show up there are locked in to how the state voted in the primary ballot, which is March 3rd, and we find out then who our state prefers, they're only locked into that for the first round. So if people were sending, because at that state election, let's say there's less progressives that show up, and so the people we send are less progressive. If they're only locked in for round one, when round two rolls around, let's say not one candidate got majority 50% of the vote. Round two, people can move around, and so we could see people not represent states if the people that were sent don't line up with that. And so that's why this is all important. It's also going to be super important that those people stick their ground if there is a round two, because we never got rid of superdelegates. We just said they couldn't vote in the first round. So that's could happen. We don't know how they're going to vote. And that's where it becomes less democratic, to be honest. So I think I talked a lot about my strategy. Precinct level, local level, the only deadline is to participate at your local caucus. You have a week to register as a Dem. You show up. You get other people to show up. You talk about who your preference is, and you try to get listed as your precinct organizer and a delegate, because you'll have votes. Delegates, it's more of like the build-up process that you have a voting right. And precinct organizers, you sign up for a 2-year term. And it's very interesting to get involved with the party. I've learned a lot through the process and met a lot of awesome people that share my values. And then from that level, you go to the county level. You'll probably actually, if you want to be a delegate sent to the state level, you'll have to put together like an election campaign of your own. You're gonna have to you have to meet with the other delegates, find out who they are, see what values you share, and see what of you people you want to send to the next level, and who's able to continue being active. And at the state level, you're gonna have to do it again. You're gonna have to try to put some type of coordinated campaign and call people, find numbers, send emails. If you want to be a delegate we send to the Democratic National Convention, or be a DNC member. Now I might break down that one a bit more in another video to come, because both are fascinating, and I know just because it's still February, we're more focused on the caucuses coming up rather than months down the line when there is the national convention. But time moves quickly, and so I just want to get this out there to talk about my ideas for strategy. It's try to get through the process, and that parts of it will come. But knock doors to try to get people to come to caucus is one. Counting on my fingers that you can't see. And number two is I'm going to be blunt that I'm there to support progressives. And there's certain policies that are super important to me. And these are the candidates that I think do a good job with them. What are your guys' thoughts? And I'll let them know that I will represent their voice if they send me as a delegate throughout the process. It ultimately won't choose the Senate candidate. It kind of just chooses who's on the ballot, because in July we have our Senate primary ballot. But I'm just going to be there, and I'm already putting myself out there, so if they want to keep track, and I will keep updating them. I'll make this as democratic, as authentic, as transparent as possible, and they know what I'm fighting for, and it's them, and it's future generations, and it's our planet. And so that's going to be my strategy going into caucus. And at this point, it just comes down to how many more people can we get to show up that support that, so that when it does trickle up to county and state level, we have the numbers to send progressives and those with bright ideas and strong voices who are good communicators and have many skills and values. So that's my bit of my ramble. But let me know what you think from my strategy, from the process. If there's things I missed or glossed over, hit those up in the comments and I'll respond. And this is more videos to come on politics, Colorado politics. I have some ideas in the work that are nonpartisan in the way that they're set up, but I think will help get us to the point where actually most of us do agree on a lot, no matter what party you're from. And it's just about how traditional media gets ratings from trying to divide us, and so does our president. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, yeah, more to come. So subscribe, hit the like button, and yeah, my current goal is 100 subscribers, because I heard that it helps YouTube share things. Is if you're below 100, it's not really sharing it, but then after that, it has a chance to do so. So that's my goal. Help me get there. And thanks for watching. See you guys around.